Hello, how are we? Long time no see. Yes, it's me, Dan, again, for another round of In the Spotlight here at Rolling Stone. It's been about a good year and a half since I've done one of these, and fortunately, just to ease me back in, we've got a return guest, which is wonderful. But first, I just wanted to have a quick thank you to a sponsor, Liquorland Wigram, your friendly neighbourhood liquor store. They are our sponsor tonight. Thank you to them. And a little note, we're going to have our guests come out shortly, and we'll have a yarn. Part one's up online on the, I think it's, you can see it on Facebook for a Rolling Stone. And hopefully we don't cover too many of the same ground. We've got some ideas. We might go on a bit of a tangent here and there about this, that, and the other thing. But if you do have any questions at the end, we'll open it up for a few questions. And if you have a question, put your hand up at the right time, and we'll come up to you with a microphone, and you can ask the question into the microphone, and we can all hear you, and that'll be grand. But now our esteemed guest this evening, please clap for our friend Arnie Van Bussel. Hi, sir. How are you? Very good. Nice to see you. You got your phone off?
Yep.
There's a callback for those that were here last time. Righto, so I came out and visited you. Oh, he's got a big blue bag here. We've got some treats in here that we'll look through soon. But I came out and saw you out at Night Shift Studios about a week ago.
Yes.
And at the same time, you had Mr. Billy Valance out there. He turned up at the same time. What were you doing with him?
Billy's been in and out of my studio for a couple of decades now. We did the first album we did together with a guy called John Hooker and Billy Valance was called Love Hound, and it was sort of a blues folk album, and he's been in and out ever since. I've done quite a bit of live sound for them as well. They're wonderful together when they perform, and so last year they did another one. In Search of Love Hound or something, I've forgotten the exact title.
Yeah.
And then spurred on by that, Billy decided to do a couple of albums himself.
Yeah.
One of which was the first one was a comp of a variety of different recordings he'd done over time. And then he said, I've got all these poems that I want to convert into songs. Can we do another album with that? And I thought, okay, how are we going to do this? I thought. And then he showed up. Every time we had a session booked, he'd just show up with this little wee pocket recorder, and there'd be a bit of harp and a bit of singing, a bit of harp and a bit of singing, and a bit of harp and a bit of singing. All right, can we turn that into a song? Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we can.
Yeah.
So, you work out the key and you work out a tempo, and usually it starts with a drum loop to keep us in time. And then basically I became his band.
Yeah. I've got I was collecting the CD. I've got the CD here. And there's a lot of, it's Arnie's the band here. He says he's incredibly grateful to Arnie for clothing my raw demos in such amazing musical coats. Awesome.
Yeah, he's a lovely fellow, Billy. And it's, to be fair, it come up pretty good.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so and he's pretty happy with it. So, yeah, and that's the way it goes in studios. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of imagination, and then you reach into your bag of tricks.
Just like this one.
Bag of tricks, and things just occur to me, because I've had a lot of experience over 50 years, and things just come in. I don't know where they come from. They just come in, and next thing you're doing it.
Nice.
And I do the best I can. I'm not the world's best guitar player, but I do know a lot about production. And if I need someone to fill the gap for me, there's plenty of people I can call upon.
Yeah.
So, very lucky in Christchurch. We've got a host of wonderful musicians that can work at a professional level, even though the money's just awful.
Yeah. Oh, we'll actually get to that. That's one of my things to talk about. So let's have a little we'll set a little agenda between you and me first, so we don't. Okay. So we kind of know what we're going to talk about.
So we don't ramble
and we don't repeat ourselves. Maybe
one thing I would like. One thing I forgot to mention last time. That first band that I was in, I never gave you the name of the drummer.
Oh yes, who was the drummer?
His name was Paul Soper. A blonde, ginger-headed sort of guy, wonderful nature, and he played drums with us for about 5 years, and I forgot to mention it. Okay, there you go.
All right, we did that into the last into the last recording. So I think for the agenda, maybe we'll see if we can just for those who are new to us and new to Arnie, maybe we'll try and do a 2-minute recap of where we got to last time. Then I think we talk about musicians that you've worked with, perhaps go into your bag of tricks and see what records you've got there. Then maybe we talk about recording, the recording process, your studio, and maybe some of your favourite musicians, who you like listening to, who you want to see live, who you like to see live. And then maybe we talk about what you've been up to very recently at the end there. So how does that sound?
Okay.
Cool. All right, let's see if we can do a 2-minute 2-minute recap.
Well, we did a bit of family history last time.
We did about half an hour's worth of family history last time, but that's all good.
That's covered.
That's well covered. But you were born in the Netherlands.
Yes.
Came out when you were. You correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Came out when you were 6.
Yep.
You sort of got into gigging, into bands, performing in bands first, playing guitar. Who was the chap that taught you guitar again?
He was a wonderful guitar player called Tommy Kahi. He was a teacher also of guitar skill, and he was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also had a bit of background in engineering, and I guess the music and the engineering came together, and there you have Night Shift Studios.
Yes. Back in the day when I first started my activities, it was the usual story. You're a young couple with kids and you need money. And so some of it, of course, is a hunger for finding financial resources. And it was a hobby to begin with anyway. And while there was not lots of money in it, it was still an activity that was sort of in the background. And slowly it blossomed over time as I became more adept at my craft, you might say.
And how many years have you been doing it, do you reckon?
50.
50 years, wow.
Yeah. It takes about 10 years before you really start to understand the ins and outs of recording as a skill. You consult any book that talks about it, they'll say the same sort of thing. Because you'd have to develop a mindset that's cued into all sorts of facets. It's complicated.
Is it like learning an instrument, maybe, or?
It's kind of like that in a lot of ways. One of the people that I was listening to early on was a guy called Quincy Jones, who worked with the best. And I would listen to his mixes and go, "Oh my God, how does he do that?" And there was no book.
Yeah.
There was no YouTube.
Yeah.
And you just listen to it and try to analyse what it is that's going on. And of course, he was working with the best session musicians in the world. And the likes of Earl Klug and Stanley Clarke and the great drummers of the time. There's a whole bunch of them, American musicians. And when you're working with the best like that, it behoves you also to be at the top of your game.
Yeah.
And he was.
Yeah.
He had this big band, Quincy Jones. He was amazing in himself.
Yeah.
So you listen to that stuff and then you try to apply what you're hearing. You try to work out what it is how they do that technically, and then it becomes one of your tools in your bag that you try to use when you're working with your clients.
Do you think it helps having been a performer or musician first?
It does, because musicians have they're unusual. They're in many ways a creative nervousness. There's an anxiety and a nervousness and a drive that musicians have that makes them creative, indeed, and at different levels. And there's a psychology involved with all of that when you have to work with them.
Yeah, yep. I recall we talked about that.
We did last time, we did. How to chill them out.
How to chill them out, pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it isn't just chilling them out, it's a question of trying to understand what they're trying to achieve and being in the team and letting them understand that they can be comfortable with you being part of that.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, of course, I was greening, but after about 10 years, I really did start to understand it.
Tell us about some of those experiences, those early bands you might have been involved with. There's obviously some classic New Zealand songs, New Zealand bands you've been involved with in those early days. And I guess part of my question is I'm quite interested to know what it was like to go in the studio with you in the early 80s and later on what's it like to go into the studio now, because I'm sure they're very different experiences.
It's quite different now because now we have digital tools, but in the beginning it was rudimentary. There was only 8 tracks available, mind you. Having said that, George Martin recorded the Beatles with 4. So when people talk about 8, 4, 16, all of that is kind of irrelevant in some ways, because what you're trying to do is capture a performance, and the quality of that performance is not dictated by the microphones or the equipment or the leads. Not really. That's all just production stuff that's a tool, but it's the performance that really counts, right? So why were the Beatles so amazing? Because they were amazing musicians. They were crafting stuff and doing. Paul McCartney was coming up with, and John, they were coming up with ideas, and the world was at their feet. Now they could try all kinds of things, and they were given, fortunately, George Martin to assist them. And so they had to basically bend the limited number of tracks that they had to bend that technology to their will. So instead of, for example, having 16 tracks for all the different microphones, that they would have 1 track, but they could have various microphones, but it all went into 1 track. So that had to be balanced. So things had to be balanced on the fly.
Yeah.
And when you think about it,
because you only got one shot, really.
Well, when you've got everything on separate tracks, later on you can sort of wiggle things around and change the balance. But when you're putting everything on 1 track, and it's going to be part of the song at the end, better be right.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was what he was really good at, George. He understood, and he had a good ear, and he knew how to get those musos comfortable and performing properly. And it took a while, because they were green when he was first working with them, the first few albums. You could hear the roughness in it.
Yeah.
The talent's there, but it had to be moulded, and over time they got better and better. And the same applies, it doesn't matter which studio you're working with. So with 8, you've got a few more options, and then we decided 8 wasn't enough, so we spent a lot of money in 84, went to 16. And the machine is amazing. I've still got it. It's the best machine in the building.
Yeah. That's your favourite bit of kit?
For capturing, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
There's no digital aspect. There's no pixels or bits. It's all pure analogue recording. So what is it about then? It's not even about that tape recorder, and it's not about the number of channels. It's about the performance, what you're capturing, and how good they are, and the ideas they've got, and the arrangements and so forth. All that other stuff is more important than any of the tools that you're using. And if you get it right and you capture it properly and they're in a good form, wow, it's just purely sublime. Or not.
Yeah. And can that be I mean, you get a bunch of professional musicians or near professional musicians that have played for a long time, or you've got some raw talent, people that are just picking up instruments. Can you capture that kind of magic with anyone, or is
Well,
it...
it's amazing sometimes people who can be amateurs and be really good.
Yeah.
There's plenty of examples of that. And then there are people who claim to be professionals who are a bit rough at the edges, and they're earning big money.
Who blew you away in the early days when they trotted on in and you thought, wow, these guys are going to be the next big thing? Or was there anyone that you had an intuition about?
There's the notables. I worked with the exponents when they were school kids, and they had the spark. I could see it in them, and they very quickly rose up the ranks, and they were performing regularly at the Aranui pub. They became the house band very quickly. They just knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they had a really good front man. And I just did a few demos for them. Actually, I helped them get the original contract with Mushroom. They were performing at the time, and I think it was a group called Street Talk came through and was the main act for a week or something, and they were the house band to support them, of course. And I think one of the players in that band knew Mike Chun at Mushroom.
Yep.
He said, "Oh, check these guys out." And he said, "Well, how good are they?" He said, "Well, get them down to a studio and do a demo." And so they came down, and they had a really good sound guy as well. I got on really well with him. And the two of us put it together on 8. And I've still got that recording of Victoria.
It was Victoria, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty faithful to their live sound.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's better than the final finished version. In some ways.
So just so I understand, the demo, does that still travel to become the finished version at some point, or does it all get re-recorded?
What happens then is they get the contract, and then somebody says, we'll do this properly, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's take it to Mandrill, where they have 24.
Oh, yeah.
And, so this is Christchurch. There's no real presence here by representatives from major record companies.
Yeah.
Never was. Flying Nun was the local indie record company. There was another one called Onset Offset, and various people have tried to do a bit of that, but no, there wasn't really a presence by any reps from any of the major record companies. So, what I was doing was mostly just demos.
Mm.
And the bulk of the people I was working with at the time were amateurs anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're working with, of course, people who are doing demos for work. So they just come in to record a bunch of covers so that they can get work.
Oh, yeah.
Every now and then I'd get a call from a publican who'd say, "Hey, you recorded this band, did you?" "Yeah." "Well, they don't sound like that live." "How come?" And I'm going, well, that was part of my job, of course, to try and, make them sound as good as possible, So that's them in under ideal conditions, you might say. So, they'll have a good night every now and then, won't they? But no, by and large, I used to say to them too, listen, this has to represent how you actually sound. Mm. If we make it too slick, and then you go and play not as good. Yeah. But no, most of the work, apart from that, was creative stuff. People doing their creative thing in an amateurish way. But that's not to say that some of them weren't brilliant musicians.
Yeah.
I've worked with the likes of James Wilkinson, John Hooker, and I can name any one of about 10 wonderful guitar players around Christchurch who all do amazing work. So just because they're relegated to amateur status doesn't mean to say that they don't have the creative inspiration and the skills to pull it off.
Yeah.
So, and every now and then it happens, you set the microphones up, you've never met them before, and they just start tweaking and twiddling their instruments, and you're going, oh, I know, this is going to be good tonight, or not.
Or not.
But mostly it's, you get special moments, and then, and suddenly I'm, okay, fully awake. Focus, please, because these guys are good. You can't afford to mess this up.
Yeah. Have you ever had it where you're there and it's like that and you're like, this is amazing, and then you play it back to the artist and they're like, nah, not good enough, or...
Yeah, there's that. I mean, not so most, I'd say a good number of them are very critical of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's part of the process of progression, if you want to get better. If you maintain a sort of an objective critique of yourself, it can be quite constructive. It's when it becomes subjective that it gets in the way sometimes, you know. I don't like my voice, it's shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a negative image. And I say to them, no, you're fine. You know, just keep working at it. And they get better. Because the voice, the human voice, you can train that thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an instrument. And then anybody that plays an instrument will tell you that it takes years to really get good at it. You know,
Yeah.
time and practice and working away at it, and usually for no gain.
Yeah.
There's usually no money in it.
You mentioned Flying Nun before, and people sort of associate that, I guess, more with Dunedin, but there was a Christchurch. It came out of Christchurch, didn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Roy and the main guy was Roger, of course, and Hamish, and the crew down there. That was just a hobby.
Yeah.
To begin with. Let's do this. You know, and there was no real, I don't think they were thinking about financial gain. I just wanted to support some of the indie stuff that they like listening to.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Was it Roger...
Roger Shepherd.
Roger Shepherd. Did he work in a record store or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was EMI. I could be wrong about that. It was one of the music stores anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your bag, you showed me a book when we were at Night Shift Studios, and is it kind of like just a ledger book of all the bands that have...
This is the cassette order book.
The cassette order book.
One of them. You know, and I go back and it's 83. That's all we could make back then. There's a list of bands. Fondue Trout. Mainly Spaniards. Del Riata. Mixed Feelings. Wangs. And so on and so forth. Evasive Action. Hey, John Purvis, look at that. Accent. Turgid Flesh.
Oh, that's not a classical band, is it?
Vertical Smiles. Venetians. Yeah, just, you know, they'd order, because that's all we could make back then. So you mix onto your stereo tape recorder, and I kid you not, 10 cassette recorders. 10? All hooked up.
Yeah.
So they could all record at once.
So, all 10 at once?
10 at once.
Oh,
that
wow.
was 5 doubles.
Yeah. So it was the standard order, was it?
So you'd hit the record button, pause. Hit the go on the reel-to-reel tape recorder, and you'd set go past, and then actually you'd hit the pause buttons first, get them going first, wait for the leader tape to go past, and then hit the go button on the tape recorder.
Yeah.
And they'd all record 10 at once. And then it would get to the end, and I had a little sensor mounted on the main tape recorder that would automatically stop it when it got to the beginning of side A. And then you wait for all the cassettes to finish.
Yeah.
Flick them all over.
Yeah.
Hit record pause, then get that one ready. Go. Wait for the leader tape. And then we put stickers on them and little booklets for the cassette cases and stuff. So that's the cassette order book. What's in this one?
How much would a cassette have cost them back in those days?
It's expensive. I think $3 or $4, $4 or $5.
Yeah.
Something like that. Here's some of the original bookings. 82. with the fees, even the fees listed. Oh my goodness.
How much did was an afternoon with you in 1982?
Here's Richie Venus for 3.5 hours, $52.
Oh yeah.
My Three Sons, an hour and a half, $22. You know, it seems so like a paltry stuff now when you think back to what people pay now. The Vortex Brothers, 5 hours for $75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
and what are they going? If they're doing, say, like an EP, I don't know if it was mainly sort of, maybe four songs or something like that. How long would they come in for an afternoon and they're done, or?
It depends on how they want to do it. Most people don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we have a bit of a chat. Well, what's the best way to do this and not blow the budget?
Yeah.
You know. And so just put the heads together and go, okay, well, the quickest way to get a band down is live takes. So usually you get the drums, the bass, a couple of guitars or a keyboard, get that down first. And if they're all good, you can keep all of that. And the advantage is they're all playing together.
So there's one live take with all those instruments?
Yeah, if you set it up right.
Yeah.
By 84, of course, we had all the right gear, 24-channel console.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why we couldn't just get it all down. Boom. So a group that's playing well in an afternoon, you could get 5 or 6 tunes down.
Yeah.
Creative stuff I'm talking about.
Yep.
Right? Because they're going to do one take and then, do another one. So by the time you've done 2 or 3 takes on 5 songs, you're 3 hours in before you know it. And then you're going to do your vocal again, unless there's somebody in a booth.
Yep.
Right, so usually there's a cue mic, what we call a cue mic in the room, and the lead singer's singing along because he's playing guitar. But that's got a lot of bleed on it, that microphone, because...
What do you mean by bleed? Like
all the other instruments in the room are going in that microphone as well.
Yeah.
So if you want a really clean vocal, you turn that track off and sing it again.
Yeah.
And then they can all get around a microphone and sing harmonies. It's better to do that afterwards, because while they're playing, they're focused on their instruments. They're going to sing better if they're
just focused on
that. Yeah. And so forth. Lead breaks, whatever else needs to be done, and a second keyboard, maybe another saxophone, whatever. And then, by the time you're 4 or 5 hours down the track, most of the stuff's down, and then you've got to mix it.
Yeah. Which it's your time as well too.
You pay for that because that's part of the process, and it's an important part of the process. It's not the be-all and end-all, but if you screw up the mix, it's not good.
So you have an afternoon like that of maybe 5 hours of recording. How long would it take to mix?
Most people run out of steam after about 4 or 5 hours of focusing.
Yeah.
So then you've got it down. I'll give them a rough mix of it just so that they know what they're doing, and then you also need to have clean ears. When you're mixing it, you need to really have a break from it. So it's often the best time is the next day and early in the day. So your ears and your mind, it's sort of refreshed, and you do better mixing.
Yeah.
And sometimes have 1 or 2 members from the band to help. I would give them the option, But, you can come to grief because people that are in the room with you when you're trying to mix, they don't have the skills that you do.
Oh, yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. They think they might.
They have their own opinions.
Oh, yes.
I mean, worst case example, I had a 4-piece group in once, and I kid you not, we did 4 lots of mixes to suit each individual member of the band. Oh, my God. And in the end, they couldn't agree.
On the definitive
So I got a phone call from the leader of the band. He said, "Will you mix it again?" And just without us there.
Solomon's mix.
And I did. And that's what they went for.
Yeah.
I knew what they wanted. And I was a bit more objective. And I had production skills. So, and that was fair way down the track. That would have been 20 years down the track,
Yeah.
I was doing good work. So that's one of the things we missed last time was the time from 1990 through to now.
Yeah.
Didn't talk about a lot of that stuff. The 16, the big analog tape recorder, was phased out in 2000. even though it was still functioning.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted the tools that digital provides. So, if a vocal's slightly out, with digital you can fix that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools with digital. I had the best set of tools ever.
When did you start using the digital tools? Was it sort of mid-90s or?
Well, when you say digital, there's already a move to controlling instruments using digital language that was called MIDI, Musical Instrument Digital Interface. So that started to happen already in the 80s, and you remember drum machines and keyboard bass lines, and
yeah.
So what they were moving towards was trying to control a certain variety of instruments using a keyboard.
Yeah, kind of converting it into like data rather than like actual sounds.
They were using algorithms back then.
Yeah.
To make mock pianos and right, and that's because with MIDI, the sequencing code that we had, we could control it. So in the 80s in particular, there was a lot of that sort of house music going on.
Yeah.
And very accurate.
Yeah.
Didn't always feel great, but it was accurate.
Well,
that's where it started.
Yeah.
And then that started to progress over time. And then by the time we got to the year 2000, then we were recording audio into digital as well.
Yeah.
And manipulating both. And now, of course, it's gone absolutely nuts.
Yeah. And as an engineer, were you okay with technology changing, or as a profession, were people resistant to it? Did they think, oh no, this is ruining it, this is ruining
Depends on
job?
the band. If you're working with a rock band, the closest you're going to get to digital is a keyboard.
Yeah.
Or maybe a mock flute inserted for a break somewhere, or stuff like that. But if you're working with a band that's got a heavy aspect of keyboard in it, I did a bit of work with a group called May back, and they were playing the Firehouse in Christchurch, and the drummer would just hit a button, and the drums would start up, even though he was sitting on the drum kit, and he'd have a click in his ear and he'd play along. So he'd turn parts of the original kit off, but what it was doing, it was playing keyboards and extra instruments.
Oh wow!
That they didn't have, right? And so there'd be a guitar player on the stage, a couple of people singing, bass player, and a drummer, and the rest was coming out of the MIDI system. And that's sort of where it started. So it became part of the live thing.
Experience, yeah.
Genesis, good example. They fired half the band, or they had a big breakup, and then they were back down to 3 or something. They'd hired all these session players, and then, we're going to synchronise it with the lights. And it was all digital, right? So, the digital aspect of it's become a heavy focus of sort of different tools for different things. It's a lot of the time, some of the best music I've recorded is just people playing instruments, man.
Yeah. Is it hard to capture that human sound these days, or when you're using digital tools? Does it lose it, or can you still sound like this was a bunch of people playing this live in a room together? Can you make it?
Well, of course, having a technical interest in it, I started to do a lot of sequencing myself.
Yeah.
My first album, most of the rhythm sections are sequenced. And having knowledge of how the instruments are all played individually, like drums, because I've played drums, see, so I understand how a drummer ticks. Even though I'm not a brilliant drummer myself, I still understand the mechanism. So a really good drummer will have 4 parts to his brain, basically, 2 legs and 2 arms, and they're all independent.
Yeah.
And, they should be, or they try to work it so that they are. And making that happen with a drum unit, so you're adjusting the velocity of all the hits and the timing. And some of the best drum fills, I'd muck them up on purpose, because they sounded better.
Yeah.
Slightly out. Drummers, they speed up during fills sometimes a little bit.
Sounded like a real person was
so
behind it.
you learn the little tricks that you need to use to bend those tools to your will so that you're replicating the real thing.
Yeah.
But then
yeah.
a drummer, it takes only half an hour to set him up, and he'll go through the song in 5 minutes and play it better than your frickin' sequence that you spent 2 hours trying to put together.
Yeah. So why don't they just do that?
Well, but see, some of the best recordings that you ever hear, they've agonised about every aspect, And of course, when you're working for a major record company and they're going to sell millions of copies,
they can afford to.
Time spent on R&R at the beginning is worth it.
Yeah.
But when you're working at a grassroots level in Christchurch, New Zealand, the best recordings are the ones where they play really well.
Yeah.
And the digital side of it is something that's on the sideline as a tool if and when you need it. Right?
Yeah.
Are you finding that interesting, or are we getting too technical?
No, very interesting.
Okay.
We got some musos in the audience. Well, I guess the next, well, if we jump ahead to the future, well, we're kind of jumping ahead to the future, and the hot topic, of course, is AI, and how AI might influence what you're doing now, and is there still going to be a role for a human in harmonising, voices and all that sort of thing?
I'll run through the timeline a little.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yep.
Okay, so the first recordings, I kid you not, in England and places like that, a needle would go down on a piece of plastic, and it would go down and the guy would say, "Righto, away you go." And that was it.
Yeah.
So it was a piece of plastic with a needle carving a groove in it. And then after that, the tape recorder arrived, and that was easier because you just hit record and you could do lots of takes with a tape recorder.
Yeah.
I mean, the Beatles, there was one song they did 100 takes or more, and then they kept all of them on a tape, on tapes.
On the one tape, all the tapes, yeah.
Boxes of tapes that were never trashed, and so they kept hold of all that stuff. My goodness, that's where all those outtakes come from.
Yeah.
So then we got into multi-track tape recorders, and of course we were making records. So the stereo tape would go to Wellington, and the guy at EMI would create two things called mother plates, one for side A and one for side B. And it was the needle literally carving a groove. But that would come from a stereo signal that was coming from a tape recorder.
Yep.
So the tape was the master tape, and it would go to Wellington. They'd play that, and they'd make a mother plate and a second mother plate, side B, and then the two plates would be taken over to the chemical department, and they'd put a sort of an amalgam of chemicals on top, and it would settle on the mother plate as a metal.
Yep.
And you'd lift it out, and that's called a father plate. The father plate for A, a father plate for B. And the two come... I can't tell it. The father plates would come down together, and the plastic would get squished.
Yep.
And they'd cut off the swarf, and hey presto, you got a record.
Yep.
So the thing that comes from those are really good tape, right? So that tape had to be better than the record.
Yep.
So when people say to me, "Oh, there's nothing better than vinyl," actually there is. It's that original stereo tape,
Yeah.
which has got to be really good. So then we started to make CDs, late 70s, early 80s. EMI Sony invented this new thing that was going to replace the record. And, it's compact disc, digital. So it's 44.1 kilohertz sampling rate, 16-bit, and suddenly everything was digital. The classical people hated it because if you're recording at 44.1 kilohertz, you're not really getting accurate reproduction of the tops.
Yeah.
They're getting distorted.
Yeah.
They're not the same. So it gets a bit brittle. So all the classical people are going, "Oh, no, I don't like those. Rather have vinyl. I'll put up with the scratches." you know. So there was a bit of a war going on, but for rock music and pop and house and all that stuff, CDs are perfect, mate.
Yeah.
You know, no noise. So that very quickly replaced cassettes as well. And vinyl and cassettes kind of started to decline, and everything went to CDs except for the classical people and jazz, of course. And then, of course, late 90s, everything started to become completely digital. Digital files and internet. So now we're living in a world where music is completely encoded in a digital code. And we've moved away from cassettes. We're even moving away from compact discs now. The CDR arrived, and that was a pale imitation because they don't last. And then we had DVD-Rs as well for digital film. And everything's become digital files. And the writing was on the wall that AI was approaching, you know, because computers were getting smarter and smarter at doing all kinds of stuff. And now we have AI learning how to copy the past.
Yeah.
Right? So you can literally buy a subscription, but let's just stop there for a second and just remember where we are. So everything's digital files and everything's coming at you via this thing, right? It's not really a phone. It's a pocket computer that's got an app on it that permits you to make telephone calls. It's got enough memory. It's more powerful than my first PC, this damn thing. And it's got everything. You can even make your coffee with it, you know. You can dial home and turn the coffee on. So everything is transmitted to you via this thing, and everybody's got one in their pocket, right? And everything is files, documents, videos, everything is files, absolutely everything. Now we start talking about AI. So AI's been with us a wee while. It's now infiltrating at every level, and it's going to knock people out of work. And the big thing with music is, the problem with it is, for some of these programs, you can literally say, I want that song in that tempo and that key and that style, boom, boom. 2 minutes later, you've got a studio quality recording and you haven't done anything. There's no creative process apart from the fact that you told it what to do. And anybody who's got no talent whatsoever can do that. And it's learning from the past. It's basically plagiarising everything that's happened prior to this and for giving you an imitation thereof. How creative that is, that's subjective, I suppose. I don't know. Some people like it. The problem with it is that it's going to create a huge output of artificially generated stuff. It's going to swamp the market and push all the creative people out of the edges.
Yeah.
It's going to impact on everybody's ability to earn any kind of royalty. So I worry about it.
And how are people going to know where the real stuff is when you've got
can't tell.
so much? Yeah.
That's how good it is. Where are we?
Yeah.
Problem. I'm glad I'm not there at the beginning. I weren't. No, well, I was at the beginning, but God, I saw it coming though.
Yeah.
Real shame. That's not to say, of course, that it's going to push out live performance. It won't.
No.
Here we're in a venue. It's live. You can't replace real musicians. Not really.
No.
They're trying though with digital. Look, we've got robots running down the bloody road in China.
I saw them far out. Oh dear. Oh, well, I want to talk about something nice and cosy.
Yeah, go on.
Now, just to change from that topic. I just wanted a quick chat about your studio.
Yes.
Because it's a lovely place. It's the opposite of a sterile kind of, I don't know, futuristic kind of studio, or even just someone sitting in front of a computer in a dark room. It's just a warm space. Why did you pick this place, and what is it about it? The part of town maybe that it is, what kind of building it is?
Well, I've asked people this, I've often thought it was a little bit sort of organic, for want of a better word. And people always say to me, no, leave it the way it is. Because when we arrive, it feels like home, messy, And I was watching a doco once on Pete Gabriel, and they were talking about that big hit of his, Sledgehammer. And I wasn't interested in what they were saying. I was looking at what was behind them. And it was a messy studio like mine.
Yeah.
So I felt a little bit better about myself. What it is about that environment is that people walk in and they feel more comfortable than if it was really flash. A flash studio with carpet on the walls and mirrors everywhere is just going to make people nervous.
Yeah.
So I've kept it a little bit rough on purpose. And it's easier.
Yeah. And you're right next to a railway line. What's that all about?
Well, I'll tell you what, EMI, Wellington was right next to a railway line as well.
Oh, really?
They were. When we found the building at the time in 1986, I thought about it and I thought, well, a lot of the time I'm recording really loud stuff. So, and there wasn't no neighbour on the other side either. So there was nobody anywhere near us at the time. And I thought, oh, well, that's good, because the only thing we've got to worry about is the odd train.
Yeah.
So no neighbours to get really upset when we make too much noise. We've only had noise control in there once.
Yeah.
And that was one afternoon, it got really hot, and a group called Atomic Blossom opened all the windows and made a shitload of noise, and police came down and said, can you close those windows, please? But for the rest of it, it's a nice building. It's got concrete walls, doesn't let a lot of sound in. And I've adjusted it, retrofitted it with all the right things to make it comfortable for the musicians.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got 3 booths, a big room, and you need booths because you need to isolate the drums, for example. So if you put the drums in with the other instruments, you're going to get all those loud guitars on the drum track. So pretty soon after I had the building, I put a wall and then put the drummer in a booth with a headset on, and because that's what they used to anyway. They usually practice with a headset on, and then there's no smell. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. It's making musicians comfortable, making sure they can hear themselves properly for a start off. And once they get used to it, because it takes a bit of getting used to, if you're not used to a studio, but I try to do it so that it sounds a little bit like their practice room.
Yeah.
All right? There's a PA in there, for instance. And people say, what's the PA for? And I go, well, we put the drums through there. Well, isn't that a problem? Well, no. When you're close miking all the guitars and the guitars are loud, whatever bleed you're getting off those PA speakers is negligible compared to what you're capturing. So they and the people in the main room don't have to wear headsets.
Yep.
They're just listening to the drums and the vocal on the PA. It's all about making it easy for them and making it so they can hear themselves. And when people can hear themselves and they feel comfortable, they perform better. Yeah. It's all about that. Getting that performance. It's really the most important thing. Yeah. All that other stuff is just tools. Wires and leads and microphones.
With all these wires and leads, one thing that surprised me was the importance of surge protection.
Oh, surge protection, yeah. Yeah, if you've got a lot of gear in any environment, even in a modern office, you've got to put surge protectors in, because I know these things, We used to be a Sparky.
Yeah.
You're going to get a spike down the mains eventually.
And
anyway.
what were you saying about lightning up in the hills?
Yeah, if you've got lightning up in the main grid, if the grid's going through the hills and you get a lightning strike, it can send a 1,000,000 volt spike down the mains, down those cables. And when it gets to your house, it might not be 1,000,000 volts, but it might be 1,000 volts for a millionth of a second, but that's enough to take out your power supply of your favourite computer. So surge protection's important.
Yeah, there's your public service announcement, everyone. Just a couple more things. Who do you listen to? Who do you like to listen to? Whether it's, you've been dealing with these people and you've been listening, you've been putting their stuff together, but when you go home, what album do you put on, or who do you want to go see live?
Yeah,
what do you like listening
interesting question, actually, because people ask me, oh, you must have a really good hi-fi in your house. Nope.
to? Really?
It's okay. Yeah, nothing special. When I come inside and I've been working all day with music, I just want to chill into a movie or something.
Yeah.
But if you're interested to know the kind of musicians I enjoy listening to, we're talking about the likes of my favourite guitar player, for instance, is Ian Moss, who's an Australian guitar player. He's just wonderful. He's like Hendrix with a wonderful singing voice. He's that good. And of course, I was into Jimi Hendrix back in the day.
Yeah.
So go back in time. You're looking at groups like Deep Purple,
Yeah.
Richie Blackmore, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, all those wonderful guitar players, Brian May. So they were the great guitar players from the past, who were the first ones to bring the electric guitar out, and of course I was a guitar player.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to these dudes, and then of course you get later exponents of that, and Ian Moss is one of the later ones. He was in his heyday with a group called Cold Chisel, and he's still performing. We lost Jeff Beck last year. I think it was last year or the year before.
You mentioned him in the last interview, actually.
Those are the kind of guys I like to listen to. And of course, they're always in great bands, and they've got wonderful session players, great drummers and bass players and so forth. And the more you start to listen to some of these really good players, the more you love it.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to put something on, it'll be something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked last time about you did a lot of artwork for the albums and that. Is that a creative outlet besides album covers and things like that?
Yeah, it's just lucky that I had that skill as well. And when I was a kid, I was good at art, and we started to use it in a very primitive way with the studio, because of course people required stickers and inlaid cards and whatnot. And if you've already got a natural ability to make artwork, then you're just going to try and do some of that.
Yeah.
Right? Some of the best art actually is stuff that's created by hand by the musicians in the bands.
Yeah.
Because music and art walk hand in hand.
Yeah.
And often in the band there'd be somebody who's really gifted with artwork. So we try to use that, but we had very primitive tools to begin with, dot matrix printers and scanners that weren't much good. But now, of course, it's easy. You can use this blessed thing, just take a photo of it and stick it in AI and fix it.
Yeah.
And the rest of it was duplicating it, of course. I was very lucky. I had a very good friend, Steve Gainsford, who was working for Xerox.
Oh, yes.
At the time. He was selling the latest A-colour machines. And they would sit in a showroom. I think I mentioned this last time.
Yeah.
And it was good for them to actually have a few things running through those display room machines. So I'd just give him a master and he'd just duplicate them for me, and we'd cut them and fold them and stick them. These days we're making cardboard pockets because you can't get CD cases anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So we're making CDs into cardboard pockets.
Yeah. And speaking of which...
that's an example of it.
I have a good example here, and in fact this one's a pretty important example, I think, isn't it? At our last session, you were on your way to completing this. This is your...
Yes, it's my second album.
This is your second album. Here it is. Completed the end of last year, I think.
Around Christmas time. Yeah, it's an album about war. Well, it's a protest about the ills of the world.
Yeah.
Basically, we're in a mess. I just felt like expressing my attitude towards that. Always been a bit of a lefty pacifist.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a couple of nice creative tunes in there as well. The first one's a love song to my wife. But yeah, and I'm applying all the tools that I have at my fingertips And of course, because it's me, it's got to be a little bit better than your average. And technically, it's there. It could compete with anything, really.
We were listening to it just before the show, and you've got some friends on there with you. Helping you
Of
out?
course. When you're surrounded by musicians, they all say to you things like, "Oh, I want to play drums on that one. Come on." And my very good friend Todd's playing bass on one of them. So just a few guys that I've been working with recently. I'll let them. Actually, one of them gave me 2 of the songs.
Oh yeah,
Ross. But I'm playing everything.
Yeah. And you mentioned the second song on the album, The Silence.
Yeah.
How did that one come about?
I had a CD release party that I had to organise for one of my clients. She did the logistics of the venue, and we organised a bunch of session players to play the thing. And it was interesting because it was world music, Christina Godfrey. And then a week before the event, she said, "Oh, by the way, you're going to perform one of your songs on the evening." Really? I'm not much of... I'm an average guitar player, and my songs are rock songs. They don't really transmit onto an acoustic, not all that well, although...
You can't shred on an acoustic.
Oh, you can. It's a cop-out, really. It's just because I'm not that good.
Oh, okay.
So on the night I performed that song, I came up... I thought, I'll just make one up.
Yeah.
And I wrote some lyrics, and the lyrics are good. And I played it to the folk audience and finished the song, Silence. Oh! That's why it's called The Silence. It didn't really go down for the folk club, but it's fine. It's a good song. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I see available at Bandcamp. So
Yes, it's on Bandcamp.
How does that work? That's
Bandcamp's it's one of these many websites out there that permits people to upload stuff, albums, mostly, creative musicians.
Yeah.
A lot of it's original. I think most of it is. And it's just just one of many, but it's a good one because you can buy the whole album in digital form. It's not expensive. It's $12 I think for the whole album. A lot of people, of course, bung stuff up on YouTube as well. The thing with YouTube and all of those kind of spaces is you've got to have a visual component, whereas Bandcamp doesn't require that. You just put a photo with it. There's other ones as well, I think maybe SoundCloud, I don't know. A lot of YouTube stuff have just got an image.
Yeah.
Creating clips is another creative area. I've done it.
You've had a go?
Yeah. There's some clips up on YouTube of people performing in my studio. And you can hire, cameramen and editors to do all of that stuff. It can get expensive. Yeah.
So you've thanked a few people here and obviously you've got some. You've mentioned gratitude also to some doctors help keep you alive. Obviously, no secret you're going through some health challenges, but it sounds like a lot of people have stepped up.
Yeah,
and supported you.
This is my second wrangle with the beast, cancer. The news is not good, and I'm going through chemotherapy. So it's not easy. I don't let anybody tell you it's not. Chemo's awful.
When I was at the studio, it felt like you were getting lots of messages from people coming in to see how you were, and
I'm forever humbled by the love and the wishes that I'm getting from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I love you all. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the news is not good, unfortunately. But I intend to fight it. We'll just keep chugging away. I'll show you this last book.
What have you got there? Oh, the big one.
This is the workload from the 80s into the 90s all the output from the studio, including all the files. It's 2 inches thick. My goodness.
And when I visited you, you also showed me the progress you'd made on the digitising.
Yes.
And there was, I think you'd just done the last, was it 10 years or 15 years? And I watched
Since 2000, everything has been able to be stored digitally.
Yeah.
Including all the tracks of everything. And that's the one good thing about digital storage. It's cheap. You can buy a hard drive now, 4 terabytes for, $80? So you can store everything and keep it all. But there is a downside, of course, that you end up with a computer that's chocker full of thousands of files.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that since 2000 through to now. It's 25 years.
Wow.
And some of it I just call an archive. So that's the masters. The rest of it's just backups and stuff. Can get a bit messy, I have to say.
And some of you might recall way back in the early 80s, you put out some best of night shift tapes.
Oh yeah, we did 5 compilations.
Compilation tapes.
Yes.
Do you think you'd do something like that with some of the stuff you...
You know, the problem with compilations is that they're eclectic usually. If you take the best songs from, say, a couple of years and you put them all together, they're all quite different in style and genre. And, you know, people might like a copy of it. We did one, I think, called Christchurch the CD, and it's 2 CDs in the 90s. I helped to master it. Whether or not they sold that many, I don't know, but the problem is the eclectic nature of the comp. So, you know, you get your average person might only like about 5 or 6 of them, and the rest they'll never play them, and so forth. So, I'm not a great fan of comps unless you're comping a genre.
Ah, yeah.
So if it's death metal, you know, or if it's jazz, you know, so it's best to stick to one genre if you're going to have a comp.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a best of.
Yeah.
You know, best ofs are not bad. Did a couple of those for Eddie Lowe.
Oh, yep.
With the best of. Yeah, they can be good.
Okay.
Especially if there's a big output. Imagine trying to do a best of for Paul McCartney. That would take a while.
It'd be volume 3, 4, 5, 6
Yeah.
and onwards. I think we'll open it up for questions, unless there's anything else you'd like to add before we do that.
Oh, thank everybody for the support that I've been getting lately. And thank you for all your love. That's the main thing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Well, we've got a microphone out there. If anyone would like to ask a question, please put your hand up.
Here's
We
one.
have a question.
Hey, Arnie, when you were a kid growing up, in Holland, was it?
I was between 0 and 6 in the Netherlands, yes.
Right, yeah. Well, I was just going to ask, musically, your mum and dad and relatives, how did they influence you as a kid?
Well, they both had an interest in sort of popular music. And because my father worked for Philips, he was one of the first guys in the street to have a tape recorder. And he was able to, of course, to record stuff off the radio and off records. And I'd hear that stuff, and I still remember it, you know. When you're a kid, your brain's just a sponge, you know. And he was interested too in harmonica. He could play, my father. So, you know, what was the greats from yesteryear? Adler, or was it the famous harmonica players from back then? I've forgotten all their names, but I can still remember the tunes in my head. And that was the first part of it, really. There was always music in the home, even though they didn't play music instruments. But I was 13 when my parents bought me that first guitar, and that's where it started for me. But before that, I was listening to all my parents' stuff, of course. And of course, some of my relatives were in choirs as well back then, a lot of oompa music in Holland, club stuff, bars and cafes. Yeah, oompa. And the Dutch, of course, when they have parties, they all sing. You know, and it gets louder and rowdier as they all get a bit drunker. So I remember that, parties, you know, they all sit in a big long table and have a lot of fun. So, and there's a lot of singing. Yeah, there you go.
Just one question. Did you ever record your mum and dad, or you guys get together and actually record some stuff as a family?
The only time I ever recorded my dad was when he was in the rest home playing his harmonica, and I've still got that somewhere. But no, they went into recording themselves singing. No, they obviously didn't think they were good enough. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks for that, Arnie.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the mic?
Having said that, people bring stuff to me to digitise. That's one of my big activities, taking an analogue thing and making it digital for posterity. All right? Eddie.
All right. Thank you for making this available for us to ask you some questions here. It came to mind as I was listening to my friend Chris here. If looking back now in retrospect and in hindsight, is there some of the things that you've done, in the studio environment that you would do differently now if you had to go back and do it all over again? That now that you can kind of look back at what you've learned and your processes, or stuff like that.
Oh, I don't do a lot of looking back because the early part of the journey is the learning curve. And even in spite of that, when you listen to some of the stuff that I recorded, even the early stuff, it's reasonably true to what it was. So I didn't make too many mistakes. The main mistakes that I was making was my inability in the beginning of understanding the psychology of recording as an art form. And that wasn't my fault, really. You need to spend the time to learn it. So where else are you going to get that skill? But, the only way is to do it. So you're going to make mistakes. So, of course, you can always go back with hindsight and go, if I'd had a better recorder, or if I'd thought about it with my knowledge that I have now, I would have done it slightly different. And that's always part of the human curve. You're always going to be able to say that you'd do it different. We all do that, of course. But no, most of the time, in the last 30 years, I reckon I did a pretty good job of it most of the time. I certainly tried, the odd mistake, the odd accident. I can remember recording a rock band one day, a death metal group, and suddenly there was smoke pouring out of the tape recorder. And, I had my wits about me. I quickly switched it off, and I rang my good friend John, who's a whiz kid, a boffin, and he dropped the tools, came straight round, and we pulled the thing apart, went down to South Island Components, bought all the chips. Fortunately, Tascam, we're using garden variety type chips. Unsoldered, a lot of them were plug-in, fixed it all up. We discovered that there were some cracks on the power supply, fixed all of those, and then we said a little prayer, turned the power back on, and away she went again. So things like that happen. It shut the studio down for a couple of days. Nothing you can do about that. So it's not really a mistake, though, is it?
So just one more question. If you could, what do you think would be the best advice you could give to someone who's, I would say, an ambitious producer, studio engineer, in putting together music in this day and age?
Okay, this is one I get asked a lot. I get the youngsters writing me emails,
Okay.
and they want to have some kind of career. And basically I say this: don't look for a job, look for clients. And what that means is, in the first instance, try to develop some skill. Because if you're going to help people and they're going to pay you, you have to know your stuff. So go and do some stuff. Go and work with some bands that you know, do some live sound, work with some film guys. Just do it, and do it for nothing if you have to, and learn some skill. And at the same time, maybe study as well, because all of that information's out there now. It's on YouTube, it's on Google, you name it. It's all there. Endless tutorials if you want to go and learn stuff. And of course, you have to be conversant with all the digital stuff now. It's really important. So develop skill, and then let people know what you know, and then try to get clients. Because studios like mine are dead. They're a thing of the past. A studio is now something that exists inside a piece of equipment. The whole thing is virtual. You don't need the walls and the rooms and the microphones and the cables. For a lot of it, you can do it just with one microphone and a box. That's not to say, of course, that there aren't live recordings anymore, because there are. So a lot of it's going to still be around. But if you want to work with people and they're going to pay you for your skill, they have to know that you've got skill somehow. And the only way to do that is to generate stuff that's really good. So look for clients, not a job, you know, because a lot of people just say, oh, can I come around and just be at your place for nothing? You know, I'll sweep the floor. Well, you know, sure, but then I'd have to mind them a little like a babysitter. I don't have time for that myself. Most professions don't have that kind of time. So you're better off to do what I said. Just get some skill and make sure that the people that need you trust you and that you do a good job for them. And then you might get some money for it. There's not a lot of money in the music business though, you know, unfortunately. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyone? Oh, there's another one over there.
One more.
Arnie, David Ironside here.
I know, David.
I wanted to thank you. When I came back from overseas, we did about a year and a half of soundtrack work at your place.
Yep.
And we got a lot of stuff, a lot of variety going there.
Thank you.
And I wanted to thank you for that. I've still got all those tracks that you meticulously put into CDs for us, and the backing tracks and all the track by track if I ever wanted to go anywhere else. You did a great job,
Thank you.
Arnie, and it was a real pleasure. We did some great work.
Thank you.
The piano being slightly out of tune was a little issue, but we got another piano in. I think I had a few piano players in on some of my stuff. Yeah, that lovely Yamaha Grand.
Yeah.
But we got around that. We got some other pianos in and stuff. But we did a whole 13.5-hour series of Adventure Central filmed down in Queenstown. Just all sorts of music. And it was done at your place, and you did a great job. And I want to thank you, Arnie.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to work with you.
Thanks, mate. That's David Ironside. Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll wrap up the evening.
Yeah.
Arnie, how's that?
That sounds great.
Hey, thank you so much for coming out again.
Thank you, Dan.
I want to do a part 3. Can we do a part 3 sometime?
Well, we'll look at that.
We'll look at that.
And thank you to Mike.
Oh, of course. Thanks to Mike and Gretchen. Cheers, guys.
Gretchen.
Cheers.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to come back and wax lyrical.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Righto.
Okay.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.